Larry. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful rainy afternoon.
Thank you. It's definitely rainy.
Yeah.
I was doing about 30 miles an hour for a long time, and then it went down to 5. It's like, it's going to take a long time to get there.
Well, we're safe. We're happy that you're here safe and not soaking wet. So
Yeah.
it's all uphill from that, right?
Thank you. And this room is awesome. I like the vibe of this room.
Yeah, it's cool, right? It's better than it used to be just all painted black. And it just, I don't know, just felt like cold and not cool and not musical. So
It's warm.
reclaimed pallet wood, which had guitars shipped here on it, adds a good, good vibe to the room. So,
Cool.
Well, we'll just kind of zip through a couple of quick things. Part of what we do with this podcast is we want to help inspire our customer base and inspire our students to keep playing, and they're interested in your story and kind of what insight that you can give to them and help inspire them and help everybody continue to play guitar and move forward in the world of music. So real quick, I just want to ask you kind of what you're currently up to, reading your bios and taking a look at what you do online. You're a super busy guy and you have a lot going on.
I try to stay busy.
You do a good job.
I've been playing music playing guitar, I think 46 years. So there's lots of ups and downs in that. And if there's one thing I can say to young people is if you're going to do it, everyone should play music.
Absolutely.
Not everyone needs to play it as a profession. And because I definitely don't think it's the right thing for everybody. But playing music brings joy and it's a de-stressor.
Yep.
Especially if you're not doing it for a profession.
Yeah, then it's fun most of the time.
5 minutes a day is great. But you have to do a lot of different things. I think you should be able to do a lot of different things. I remember the first time I got stuck after being on 5 labels in the early 90s and not being able to put another record out and didn't know where to go. And I got some help, and some friends talked me through and helped me out in recording another record on my own without a label support. And in that process, I learned how to record. I learned how to record from the other side of the glass, not being the player. And that forced me to make decisions and worked on my production skills. And before I knew it, I was producing other artists. And that soon became a separate career.
Yeah.
So now I kind of produce other artists. I work on my own stuff. I do some things at colleges. I taught recording techniques. That all came out of that at a college for a year.
Wow.
I speak at different places now. So I do band gigs, still sideman gigs. I do what do you call it? Beta testing and product stuff for different companies as well.
Okay.
So really, it's all music. And it's all fun. It's all things I love to do. Yeah. But you find different ways to make it work. So that if my shows are not happening, I'm playing for somebody else.
Right.
If there's no live stuff happening, I'm producing someone
stuff.
Or engineering. Or I haven't been in a studio as a sideman for someone else. Mainly since I started producing, I stopped working for other producers and stuff like that. Mostly.
Okay.
There's a few that call me every now and then. I'm like, oh really? Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll do that. Sure. Yeah.
I'll definitely do that. So I just played on a friend of mine produced this guy, Tim Hicks. He's a big country artist in Canada. Okay. So I just played on Tim's new single and what a song should do. And when they called me, I was like, really? Yeah, I'd love to do it. Tim's great. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So constantly doing different things and having many irons in the fire is really a good thing for any musician. And it helps you kind of break outside of your comfort zone and learn new things and new skills. And
still keep your eye focused on what you're trying to do, but you still have to do a lot of different things.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be a common theme amongst professional musicians these days, kind of thing. Tell me a little bit about your Nags guitar, kind of how we got hooked up with you is, being a Nags endorsee. Mm-hmm. And Nags is a new line for us, and we're very pleased and proud to have it here at the store. But tell me a little bit about what drew you to the company and kind of what your kind of specific specs, that made you play this guitar over other guitars.
I come here. I come to Maryland just about every year and do some stuff at Montgomery College, Rockville campus.
Okay.
And I'm a fan of guitar. I'm a fan of music,
Yeah.
but I'm also a fan of guitar. So I've been to a couple of guitar factories. I like to watch see how things are made a little bit, and because I can't do any of that.
Yeah, me
I
either.
am
I know.
horrible.
Yep, me too.
You know, people come and take soldering irons away from me.
Yeah.
I can destroy pickups in a pot in a
We're
second.
cut from the same mold.
So I was here for a month, maybe 5 years ago, I think it was. And there's a couple of guitar manufacturers here, and I wanted to take a tour of one. And I talked to a friend of mine who endorses another company. And he's like, "Oh, they'll definitely open and give you a tour, and they may try and talk to you about endorsements." I was like, "Yeah, I'm not looking for an endorsement.
I just want to see how guitars are
I just wanna
made.
see how guitars are made." And then they wouldn't open the door.
Wow.
So I was like, "Wow, okay, all right." And so he tried. He was bewildered, and I was like, "Okay, whatever." I was just wanting to see how to see the factory, and then I was like, "Wait." A friend of mine, Steve, he endorses a new company, and to me, I think it was the company was about 5 years old then, right? Maybe.
Yeah, about that. Mm-hmm.
And I just remember seeing Steve, my friend Steve Stevens, in a couple of videos, and when talking about his new guitar, I was like, "Wait, they're in Maryland also," and I really didn't know much about the company. And I contacted Steve, and he wrote me back right away a really nice email, and he wrote to Joe and Peter, and then I started looking on the internet and going, "Wow, this is going to be cool." I was got to see it, and it's an old, they're made really high-end guitars made in a historic old factory. And
cool. I've yet to be to the factory, but
yeah, it's cool.
Okay,
it's cool. And I went down to, at the time they had some. I went down to visit and spoke with Joe Nags for a while, and we had we had a really nice conversation and learned a lot. And just his knowledge of guitar is great in general and in the history. And then he let me play pretty much every guitar that was finished. And I'm like going, and
this is awesome.
normally have a big necklace on, and I'm like, I'm trying not to scratch anything.
Yeah, because they're expensive.
They're expensive guitars. But what struck me was that every guitar I picked up was great. Now, you can go to a lot of places and pick up a lot of guitars, and not all are going to be great. Some are going to be good. You're going to find some dogs.
Sure.
You might find one or two that's like, wow, this is amazing. But they were all great. And I was like, all right, this is a little different. It's like,
something's going on here.
Yeah.
We're doing something right.
Is there a special thing on it? Nope, that's just the way they make the guitars. And they looked amazing to start with, but to pick them up and... I've picked up some guitars that looked amazing, and then they just didn't play good. But, and then they had a certain ring about them. And I remember asking Joe about some of the questions. Like, my guitars somehow ring in C sharp, like all of my Severins ring in C sharp.
Really?
Yeah, when you play and then you hear that overtone, you'll see what I'm talking about. But and I got into like, all right, so, and then everything I read I had forgotten. So I'm asking, all right, what's the deal with the same thing everybody does to me, to go, all right, what's the deal with the bridge and his plate? And I had just read about it, but playing,
it just goes out of your mind, and yeah.
So he explained some stuff to me about the plate, and then we were talking about guitars, and I played some with the humbucker here, which is normally what I would play, a humbucker in the bridge.
Position. Okay.
But there's something about the way the guitar resonates when that plate is on it.
Okay.
So that's another reason why I haven't gone to a humbucker in the back.
Yeah, because you want that plate, yeah.
I like the plate. The guitar, acoustically, I
Rings
like what the plate does. At least with all the guitars I played with the plate and without the plate, I'm like, there's something different, something special about that.
Okay.
But anyway, we talked, and I was playing with a band called Southern Fried Funk, a band in the South that was a funk rock band, and we talked about a Severin, and it was Joe's idea. I asked him about putting my logo in on the 12th fret, and it was Joe's idea to put it long ways, which everyone thinks, why is there a plane or a fish on your guitar? And I go, what are you talking about?
You got to look at it that way.
Yeah. So it's pretty funny. And so in waiting for the Severin, I got a Chenna.
Okay.
which is, the Severn is my guitar, and I play it all the time, and I love it. The Chenna, when I sit at home, sometimes I just kind of just play the Chenna.
Okay.
And I've never really when I bond with a guitar, it has to be able to go on the road, and I care about it. I can't worry about dents and scratches. I need it to do what it needs to do.
Right. It's a tool. Yeah.
It's a beautiful tool. I need to be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I can't go on stage and play like all delicate with it and stuff like that. And I've taken the Chenna when I first got it. It's been across the country a couple of times, and now I go, let me take the No, I'm not going to leave that at home. I've never really felt that way about a guitar. I don't know what it is about it, but that Chenna was just, I'm just going to leave this here. I will probably bring it back out on the road when I can watch it all the time.
Yeah, when you can just make sure it's safe. Yeah. And so did you leave the factory with the guitar that day?
No.
Okay.
No. They take a little bit more time to build.
Okay.
A little bit more time than a day.
I probably would have gotten one in my hands because that's how I am, and it's like, I gotta have this. I was
still blown away that we had talked and about me playing the guitar.
Yeah.
I was happy. I was happy just to be there. I was happy to be there and see the factory, see how they're made, and spend a day playing some amazing guitars.
Sure.
And talking with Joe.
Sure.
So that was like, wow, okay, all right, great. And then I got the Chenna, and it was absolutely great. And then when I was touring up in Seattle when the Severn my first Severn came.
Okay.
And I remember opening the case and going, wow, that's great.
This is amazing. Yeah.
It was an hour. I had to be almost an hour away. And Seattle traffic is a little special too.
As bad as our traffic in the rain.
It's a little special. But it was an hour drive to this talk radio show, kind of like we're doing here.
Yeah.
And so they had another guitar player on, another guest, and it was supposed to be split. And then when we got there, we started talking. He said, "Why don't you guys do it together?" So we started doing it. And I took the guitar, and I pretty much played it that whole hour. So 2 hours, an hour after getting the guitar, I played on a radio station for an hour
with
the guitar.
And you couldn't play.
Yeah, it felt like home.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about the rest of your rig. I see you use a Fractal.
I've been using the Fractal AX. Well, I've been using Fractal gear since 2007, 2008. And so I can travel light with the AX8. I have one EV2 expression pedal. And then I've been using, because I fly a lot.
Yeah.
So sometimes, this is a small rig. I can get the pedal and the AX8 pedal board into a laptop briefcase. But when you're flying through different countries, you can't have anybody help you with go through customs.
You have to carry it all yourself.
You got to carry it yourself. So after a while, it gets a little heavy. So sometimes I check. I always like to get on the plane with one guitar and my rig.
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case. Yeah. I have many times.
Stuff gets lost.
I've shown up in Italy, in Rome, and my clothes went to Pittsburgh. And I never went to Pittsburgh, but the clothes went there. So I spent 4 days looking for clothes that would fit me, not in a big city too. So.
And you're a pretty tall guy too. So
yeah, in small cities there was no glow. It was just no. I found underwear and socks.
And you can't wear that on stage most gigs.
No. But I have my rig, so I was happy about that. And I've shown up in a city in Russia where the nylon string guitar and the pedal board, I was using the rack mount Axe-Fx.
Okay.
The pedal board and the nylon string guitar went to some other city in Russia, and nobody could tell me where. It showed up like 5 minutes before I went on stage.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So I'm sitting here going, I don't know how to change presets now. But all right, we'll do it.
You're a pro. You'll figure it out.
I had a guitar I felt at home with. I had the sounds. I just couldn't change them, but it worked. So anyway, so I started carrying a small, when I check it, I start carrying a small backup rig, which was, sometimes it's the Tech 21 Fly rig and Eventide H9, which does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was sitting in a hotel room going, wow, I got this whole backup rig. Why don't I just start using it? So I start using the H9 in conjunction with the AX8. So it's part of my backup rig. It travels slightly different.
Yeah.
Backup's not a backup if it travels.
Yeah. It becomes, yeah.
But,
well, it's some of the sounds that you get. So since you we knew that you were coming, I've been kind of watching your Facebook Live and stuff, and some of the tones that you get and some of the stuff that you do. It's awesome. I mean, it's just I'm really excited about seeing you play tonight. But hearing the tone that you get from that, and
you got to start with a good guitar.
That's right. Yeah.
Especially on the Facebook Live things. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Anyway, people keep asking me about the tone and what are you using, and I'm going, there's a lot of things involved with getting your sound. It starts with the pick. It starts with your hands. It starts with your mind. Tone is in the mind too. Like
and how you play and how you mute strings and
the sound you're going for.
Yeah.
And then a great guitar. There are some people. I've had some cheap guitars, like really cheap guitars, and I have some friends that have cheap guitars. Well, I get this guitar. It's great. I say, yeah, but go in a store that has 20 of those and play all of them. And see if they're all the same. He goes, well, because we've all had that beach guitar that knock around. We never put it in the case and you drag around, and you go, wow, this guitar sounds amazing. And the difference that I've noticed is that the consistency. So you can take, someone can make a cheap guitar, and they can make 100 of them, and you can find one or two that are like, wow, that are amazing, and the rest are okay, and some are really horrible. When you get into Nags. It's like I said, every guitar I played in the factory was amazing. That's consistency thing.
Yeah.
They build guitars a certain way. And I got to say, probably, I shouldn't say 10 out of 10, but I have no reason to doubt it's 10 out of 10. But let's say 9 out of 10 are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I could believe that. I mean, just so before you came, somehow Joe and I got to talking about builds and necks, and he says, well, yeah, I start building necks and fretboards way before I start building the guitars because I want them to dry out. And I want them to cure, and then as I'm putting them together, like I'm putting them together with the thought process of this neck is starting out straight, and it's going to go on the guitar, and it's going to be straight, and it's not going to move, and when it ships to wherever it's going, the only time you should have to adjust it is with drastic season changes, once or twice a year, just a little tweak of the truss rod, and that's it. And just to hear that really speaks probably to the rest of the build process to think that far in advance. Like, this is how I'm going to do this. It's not the quickest way. You know what I mean? Like, he's not cutting out necks that day and throwing them on guitars and shipping them out. But just when you hear stuff like that, it makes you think, well, wow, okay, I understand like why this guitar is the way it is, why it sounds the way that it does, why it stays in tune. So we've gotten a couple Nags guitars. We're a fairly new Nags dealer. And
today's the launch, right?
Yeah, today's the launch of it. Yeah. And
welcome to the family.
Yeah, thank you. And we've gotten I think 3 guitars so far, and they have all. I open them up out of the box off the UPS truck, and I strum them, and they're in tune, and they sing like acoustically.
And it's not just because they're in the same state.
Yeah,
I've heard people say the same thing from across the across the country and out of the country.
Yeah, I mean some in UPS and FedEx, and I'm not knocking them, but this is just what they do because they don't have the same passion for the brown box that we do for the guitar. I mean, they're throwing them on a conveyor belt. They're in and out of the truck. They throw, you know what I mean. So to have them be perfectly in tune and sing like that is awesome. The first guitar that we got was a Steve Stevens Purple Sparkle.
Oh yeah,
and
that's stunning.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so we filmed a quick video for it. And I was always a humongous Steve Stevens fan. I can't play as good as him. I wish I could, but who can? Yeah. And so I just plugged it into an inexpensive tube amp and mic'd it with a 57, and it sounded amazing. I mean, it was so good. And, it all goes into that build quality and the time that's taken and kind of,
that extra effort.
Yeah.
They put the that extra bit of love into it. And
we can tell.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, it makes a difference. And that's why the guitars are so consistently great.
So are you a gear collector? Do you have other gear in your studio or anything that you love? Do you collect guitars or pedals or amps or anything?
Really small. Well, after playing for a long time, you end up with stuff.
Yeah, sure.
You just end up with stuff. And the stuff that I had had access to that I wish I had kept, when I toured with Billy Squier in 1991, Billy had like this amazing collection of vintage guitars, and I wasn't into vintage guitars then. I was like, oh yeah, that's cute. That's nice.
Whatever. Yeah.
I wish I was into vintage guitars then. I have a few things I've gotten into lately. I was born in 1964, so I've gotten into collecting a few things. Nothing major and stuff like that are from 1964. Okay. The dilemma with me always is I have a couple of really cool old guitars, and they go up in value and stuff like that. But the ones that I play are actually more valuable
than the older ones. Yeah.
They're more valuable in lots of ways, and especially for me. Yeah. What's cool about this, I don't know if Joe's told you this, but he calls this like we dubbed it like the modern vintage. Okay. Like, because it's like a Strat, but it's everything that should be right on a Strat. Yeah. Kind of thing. Yeah. And
it's a 2019 Strat. It's what you've learned in all those years of building and craftsmanship.
And just, a little extra stuff. And so these guitars, people go, you use a tremolo, right? And I go, yeah. And they go, how does it stay in tune? I said, it stays in tune great. You've been watching me. I tuned at the beginning of the night. These strings are a little old, so it might slip a little bit, but it should be fine. Yeah. I played last night without any issues. Okay. But I use the tremolo all the time, and the guitar stays in tune. It's got locking tuners, but it doesn't have like a big fancy Floyd Rose. Yeah, sure. Like that, which those work and stuff there too, but they haven't been my thing for a while. There's so many little details. The necking, the neck heel, the fretboard radius. The fretboard radius, I believe, is 8.25 on the Severin. Okay. And so I come from, after endorsing another company for 26 years, I come from really flat fingerboards. Okay. Except the vintage guitars that I, sometimes would use radiused, on. Yeah, so I would use those on some of the records I produce. And but the 8.25 felt at home. Okay. Really at home. And actually, I have to remind myself to use some of the vintage guitars for the coolness factor when I'm producing because these are so in tune. I have another friend of mine, he's got a nice collection of guitars, and whenever he plays my guitars, my nags, he's like, what's up with these guitars? He goes, they just are in. They're in. Yeah. And I go, you should get one. He goes, yeah, I got to get one. And then I see him like a few months later, and he goes, did you get one? He goes, no, I haven't got one yet. And he plays mine, and he goes, I should get one of these.
But, send him our way.
I will.
We'll take care of him.
I will.
So what are you currently listening to these days? Like, what'd you listen to in the car and stuck in traffic on the way here?
Oh, I listen to a lot of stuff because I produce a lot of different types of music. So I was actually listening to a friend of mine, Zach Friedhoff. He's Humanitarian of the Year 2 years in a row in Akron, Ohio, and a great singer-songwriter, really wonderful human being. I was listening to some Ed Sheeran. I was listening to some Prince. I was listening to Andy Timmons.
Andy Timmons is a phenomenal guitar player.
One of my favorite guitar players.
Mine too.
I was listening to his Beatles record.
Okay, yeah.
And because I had just seen a video with Andy. We're both teaching at Vai Academy 5.0 in this year, July 29th through August 2nd. Okay. And so I was like, oh, yeah, let me listen to some Andy Timmons. So that was always great to listen to Andy Timmons.
Yeah, he's always such a great player and so versatile. And even so, I first found out about Andy Timmons back when I was coming up and learning guitar when he was in Danger Danger. Yeah. And some of the guitar playing on those first two albums was so good. Yeah. I mean, if you take out now it's hard to listen to because the music has changed and like the gang vocals like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't pull up to a stoplight with the windows down, blasting like bang bang anymore or anything.
You can, but people look at you funny.
But if you listen to the guitar playing in there, I mean, it's awesome. And there's there's little jazz stuff in there. There's some fusion stuff in there, and it's so versatile.
Check him out on Simon Phillips Records, and because he played with Simon Phillips for a long time.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Andy's just Andy's probably one of my top 2 living guitar players that I love.
Yeah.
No, he's a great person too.
Yeah. I've met him a couple times at NAMM shows over the years, and he's always been really nice and humble. And I think we're hoping to do an event with him this year too. So
cool.
Yeah. And then I was going to ask you about playing with Steve Vai too. Tell me about that.
I've known both those guys. I've known Andy since the 80s. And I obviously was aware of Steve because I'm from New York originally, Brooklyn and Queens, Far Rockaway, Queens, where Steve Stevens is from. But Vai was the Steve Stevens was the local hero. Steve Vai, another section of that was like he had gone and played with Zappa, and then, he was like the most oddest, incredible guitar player from Long Island, and so I've been to both of those guys. And then when I was working with Ibanez Guitars for a long time, and just to clear up something, I didn't leave Ibanez Guitars for Nags. I turned 50, or was about to turn 50, and I wanted to play some of my vintage guitars live. Yeah. And so I talked with them, and that's where we were. And then in that process, within 2 years, you discovered Nags.
Yeah.
So I had known Steve Vai from those days, and I had gone over the last, I'd say almost 10 years probably, maybe almost 10 years, gotten a little closer, and gone to see him play a couple of times, bunch of times, and I was there. I know Thomas is tech, and I was there standing on stage.
Thomas Nordvik,
yeah. At soundcheck one day, Steve goes, "Why don't you play?" I'm like,
I don't know how to play. Here you go.
It's one thing. I had played with him once before in Japan, and it was Andy Timmons, Marty Friedman, Paul Gilbert, Steve Vai, and myself. And there's a lot of people that, when you think, oh, cool, I'd love to play with Steve Vai, next to Steve Vai and stuff like that. It's a little harder than you think. Yeah. It really is.
No kidding. Yeah.
So on that stage, it was just like, everybody's playing, that takes a solo. Also, it was a little nerve-wracking because we had 3 drummers, and Simon Phillips was one of the drummers.
Wow.
And we were playing, and it was a little crazy and stuff. And I remember that I always try and find the funk in everything. You got to be, I don't care if you're playing death metal, there's a funky part of that. Otherwise, heads wouldn't be bopping.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find it. Everybody's kind of playing a rhythm all over the place and stuff like that. And somebody's solo, you can't hear anything. And so Simon was the first person to pull. He goes, "All right, hold on." He goes, "Nobody play any rhythm. Just do your solo, and then the next person, except Larry." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
So now I have to lock in with Simon, but also every time the guitar player changed, we changed drummers. Oh. So, and every drummer has a different center point of where the funk is. So I'm like, all right, I gotta really lock in. Simon Phillips says I'm the only one playing rhythm, so that was funny. And then I'm trying to hold the rhythm together, and Andy Timmons is one of my favorite guitarists. Takes a solo, and you kind of go, wow, that was great. I'm playing. Marty plays, and he's cool, and Paul Gilbert just is on another planet. Yeah. And then Steve Vai takes a solo. And you go, wow, I'm next?
After Steve Vai.
Yeah. And then it just got more insane and more insane. And at some point, I'm like, these guys have all been doing their thing. Well, and Andy played with Olivia Newton-John, and I think Marty played with a couple of Japanese big pop stars, but they still been doing their thing for 30 plus years. Yeah. I had not. I did my thing, and then I was a sideman for a lot, and then then I got into production and stuff, and slowly got back into doing my thing. And it's just like, whoa, I need to change things up. And it was cool. And also, every time I took a solo, Steve was yelling encouraging things, but it's still unnerving.
Yeah, because it's Steve Vai, yelling right something in your ear. Yeah.
And but it was fun. So then when Steve asked me to sit in at that show a few years ago, I was like, okay. And then I realized, wait a minute, what was it like the last time? Okay, but it's been great. And every time I jam with Steve, we have a lot of fun. I have some amazing emails from him the day after, several emails the day after we would jam.
Oh, that's really nice. That's cool. That's super encouraging, and like,
it's great. I'm blown away every time I get one. So
that's awesome, man. Not many people can say that they have Steve Vai emailing them after they've jammed with them. That's really cool.
Amazing emails. Yeah. I actually am going to frame a couple and put them in my...
You totally should put them in your studio. Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. So do you still get pre-show jitters at all, ever?
Nope.
Not at all?
I don't. No. As long as I feel comfortable, as long as my hands work.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable. It will be what it will be.
That's a very Zen-like attitude. Very good. Mm-hmm. So as musicians, we've all had embarrassing gear failures or problems on stage. Give me your most embarrassing situation that you had to get through.
I had to get through. I don't know if there's any real gear. I will tell you a funny story. I used to have two techs. One of them, back in the late 80s and early 90s, one of them, Jimmy, is no longer with us. But, and the other one's artist relations for a big company. And they were born 2 days apart. Okay. They didn't know each other until, everybody was in, I think, high school, maybe after high school, or maybe high school. And they were absolutely opposites. And I had to learn how to not react and react. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, Larry Harkey is a friend of mine. He would bring down, we've played, and we're just talking about this because it's the 30th anniversary of my first record. Okay. Larry would bring down 33 cabinets. And the Harkey cabinets in the 80s and the early 90s were really expensive. So guitar cabinets. I used to play with at least 9 412 cabinets on my side of the stage. Guitar. And then there were bass cabinets, and then there were some guitar cabinets on the other side of the stage. I wonder
you can still hear it all.
Well, they weren't necessarily loud, but they were all on. He wouldn't bring them if they were just not on. So they would be racks of power amps, and they would be stereo.
Wow.
And after a while, you lose the stereo because you're listening to...
everything, yeah.
But... and then I had like a big rack with, all preamps and, TC equipment, 2290, Eventide. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And a Bradshaw rig.
Okay, yep, need that.
And so Jimmy would come up to me and goes, hey, man, you know how like I'll take out your blue guitar and I'll plug it in and he was just into jazz. And he goes, I'll play like a minor 9, sharp 11, flat K, whatever chord. and then I'll put on patch like 11 and I'll volume swell in with all the delay and reverb and it'll sound really cool. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, it's not doing that. I'm like, what?
Wow, okay.
He's like, yeah, I'm not getting any sound at all. It's like, well, did you check this? He goes, yeah. I'm like, all right, Jimmy, I'll be out in a second. Now, as bad as that is, it was not so bad because my other friend, Ira, who was my tech, would come and goes, 5 minutes before we go, and goes, dude, you got to stop the show. You just got to like, hang on. You got to tell them to delay the show. You got to, I don't know what you got to do, but the rig's not working. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, it's just not working. It's like, all right, Ira, what? He goes, no, you don't understand. It's going to be delayed. We got to back it up. And, you got to back up this. I'm like, Ira, he goes, I was like, you can't do that to me right before show.
Yeah.
So the two, and I didn't have text for like one it was like whoever was around.
Okay.
They would alternate.
Oh boy, okay.
So one show would be, hey man, the rig's just not working.
And smiling, like, it's no big deal. And the other guy's like, oh my God, stop everything. Yes,
exactly. And it was like, all right, okay. So, I learned to maneuver through that. They're both really great guys. And like I said, they're born 2 days apart, but
totally different personalities. They must have hit different sides.
And they were roommates. They both went to GIT at the same time, so they were roommates at those times. I would have loved to have been in around then.
Like a reality TV show of that room.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my God. It's like, it's okay, man.
Yeah. So gear stuff, I can't.
Not too many failures. Well, you're lucky if it's taking you that. in my life, I've had a lot of weird, embarrassing scenarios.
I've been embarrassed, but they didn't involve gear.
Yeah.
I have food allergies.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
One time I left the show. I left the stage during a drum solo, and I didn't make it back.
Oh.
I ended the show on a drum solo.
Wow.
I have food allergies. Lots of food allergies.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that happened with Stu Ham, too.
Wow.
Ate before the show, and it was not good.
What's your practice routine like?
Interesting. That's what I've been doing a master class at Montgomery College, and we've been talking about that. When I was younger, I used to play all the time. I would practice. I would play guitar 6, 7, 8 hours a day. I'd find a way to do that, and even with school. And a lot of that, especially in the beginning, was practicing, like working.
Sequences and scales.
So I worked on things even when I wasn't aware of like working on soloing and stuff. Because the first 5 years, I didn't know what a solo was. I was just all rhythm guitar, playing in bands. And I was in a band. We had a lead guitar player, and he didn't show up for a while. And they said, "You solo?" And I was like, "I don't know what soloing is." And she played scales. But I don't know if I practice anymore. I play.
Okay.
It's important. I learned a long time ago. It's important to play. I'll practice when I have something specific I have to work on.
Okay.
If I produce something and I have to remember how to play something for a song, for a show that's coming up, or roaming through Instagram now, there's some amazing playing.
Yeah, I just got an Instagram like 2 weeks ago specifically for that, and like get some of the stuff you see, you're like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's amazing.
Absolutely. So I'm like, I want to learn that, and then I don't know if I would have graduated high school if YouTube was around when I was in high school. So anything you want to learn, you can.
It's just right there.
You just gotta surf for it.
Yeah.
So I'll work on that if I'm practice. I'll practice if I'm working on something like that. But I'll play every day.
Okay.
And what I've been working on with students is if you just practice, when you get on stage or for recording or you're in the spotlight, you're going to regurgitate what you've been practicing.
Okay.
And it may sound like you're practicing in a situation where you shouldn't be practicing. But I used to practice things until I got them just to a point where they were comfortable, and then I had to apply them.
Yeah.
I had to play, and you have to make music. The end result is music, not
practice.
Scale.
Right.
Not practice. You practice so that you have the ability to deliver what you want. It would be like if someone read textbooks all the time, and when they spoke, they only spoke
in textbook language.
Yeah, you have to translate that into
real
be
world.
Able to communicate. Real world situations.
Okay.
So you read a textbook, and then you work on something, and then you figure out how to express and how to share that information with somebody that maybe not read textbooks.
Right.
So yeah, it's always important for me back then to practice and then to play. And I used to divide that time up. Now it's more pretty much I play, and I do a lot of different things. So I have to make sure I play every day. I'm older, so I have to. I actually had a long conversation with Steve Vai about this a while ago, and Steve warms up at concert volume.
Wow, really?
At least the few times I've seen him, he's warming up at concert volume. But we were talking about how we did not have to warm up. Back in those days when I had to text Jimmy and Ira, I could walk in off a cold New York City street and grab the guitar and
just play.
Ready to play. I didn't warm up.
Yeah.
And I remember, like in the practicing things, you do things for all kinds of weird technical reasons. Like my challenge then was to be able to pick everything I can play and then not pick everying, kind of hammer on and stuff like that.
Legato stuff like
and that comes to, I do that now, but not trying to do it to show off. I do it in soloing. It's like communicating, and we don't talk like this the whole time. So why are we picking? The whole? So you want to communicate and express yourself. If I want to stress something, I might slow the conversation down.
Okay.
Or if I want to really stress something, I might speed it up and go, look at that spider over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could go, or I could go, look at the spider over there. Or I can go, look at that spider over there.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
3 different ways. Means 3 different things.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So when playing, you work on all those little techniques and bending and pinch harmonics and sliding to a note, sliding this way to a note, sliding that way to a note, picking hard, not picking hard, picking soft, your dynamics. You work on all of those things. You practice all those things for a while to not have to think about it so that you can get out what you want to communicate, how you want to communicate.
Yeah.
And so I play more now and make sure that, those things come out in a natural form instead of like, I gotta
Like you're
play
playing
slow
with the
now.
metronome.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Yeah. But if I get a gig, I have to work on something. Then
obviously you got to spend some time.
Yeah, we're looking
learn
at
the
doing
tunes or something.
Yes, we're looking at doing a 30th anniversary of my first record. So I still play 4 of those songs. I never stopped playing 4 of those songs, or 3 of those songs. 2 of those songs I never stopped playing. 2 more I've recently added in the last few years. There's a couple of songs that I was 25 when I wrote those, and they are specifically too fast.
Yeah.
They are like, let me show you what I can do. And I'm like, I am not in that space right now. But if we do those shows next year, I'm gonna I will have
You'll have to go
practice.
back and practice those and relearn them.
Yeah, sometimes I was like, why did I do this? What
It was a different mindset. Your goals were
reason
different.
for putting this lick in here right now? Why? Why?
To challenge your future self 30 years later. That's exactly what it was. Well, you've been a real pleasure to talk to and to get to know, and we're really happy to have you here. Is there any insight that you could leave our listeners with, or words of wisdom that you'd have?
Just play music because you love it. If you're new to playing music, playing guitar or something like that, just really embrace it and enjoy it. Don't stress out over it.
Enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process. Yeah. Enjoy the learning part. Enjoy the playing. Music should be fun and a part of everyone's life somehow. And if you stop playing and you used to play, or if you play and you're feeling like, well, I got to go do this gig, or I would like to have a gig, if you're not feeling super great about it, just think about being when you first got a guitar, and you'd open that case, and you're like, wow. That's how I feel when I pull out one of my nags. You open the case and you kind of go, well, that's mine.
Yeah.
Wow. And you get to fall back in love with the instrument for all the right reasons. Play. Not because I got to go do this rehearsal with this singer or bass player, or I got to do this gig. If it's really that bad, don't do the gig.
Yeah, it's not meant to be.
It's not
don't
meant
force
to be.
It. Yeah,
just play. And if you're not happy with your guitarist, then come down to Island Music Company.
Yeah, because we
got try a nag.
Yeah,
because when you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah. I mean, when I put my guitars out, people go, "What's that?" Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
the guitars. Look at the little purple sparkle. Look at that.
Oh, look at this one.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
I mean, they're like pieces start with that because I'm
art.
into Stones. I'm into
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my Stone broke, but I'm into Stones. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, no, they're beautiful instruments. We're very excited. Well, cool. Again, thank you very much for taking the time, and I look forward to seeing you play up close and personal.
Thank you.
Keep up with the Facebook Live videos. It's awesome to see. And
I do it every Tuesday night at 9:00 Eastern time. The only time it gets a little funky is if I'm in Europe, because then that's 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, and you don't want to set your alarm to wake up.
Well, I can't do it in any hotel room, and I can't do it in anybody's house at 3:00. Hey, I'm just going to do an hour of
Might be your last visit.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Thank you again, and awesome.
Thank you very much.